This is the Mind of Mansion program. I'm here with John Paulsen from 4 for 4. This is what we do. If it's mid-August, John Paulsen is meeting with me. He's got very high energy. You know, the chat is always going to be up for this. They love it, and he always brings the energy meter on 10. The chat will let him know all about it. And we're going to cover all the values. In particular, we're going to highlight some busts today. There's some guys that you want to stay away from because they are just dangerous and it's just not worth the ADP, especially, you know, in the first, let's say, you know, round 3, 4, 5, 6. There's some landmines in there. We're going to identify those guys. Before we get started, John, talk about what you got going over at 4 for 4. That's where you can find all of his expert content.
Happy to be here, Matt. I am going to try to ramp up the energy after getting skewered in the chat. I'm going to just stay out of the chat. I think that's probably my best bet. But I'm going to try to ramp up the energy. It seems like every time I'm on, I have some kind of cold, but that's mid-August for you. I mean, I don't know how many straight years this is that we've been doing these podcasts in mid to late August. It seems like
8 years?
We're pushing, 8 years now.
We're doing, definitely Davante Adams and Jeff Janis were on the Packers.
Jeff Janis was the first. You were upset about a call that I made about Davante Adams, and you were upset that I didn't mention Jeff Janis. I think you bloodied your fist. So what year was that? Maybe somebody in the chat can help us out.
Yeah, I smashed something. I was so mad because you follow the Packers very closely. It's like the team that you know the best. I even have this rookie card. I have a signed Jeff Janis rookie card here.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, this is not worth anything because now he actually fixes tires is what he does. Janis Tires. If you're in the Michigan area and you need a tire service, he's your guy. I'm sure they're awesome. Very fast. He's very fast with the tires.
Yeah.
And also fast as a football player. Turns out he's not the Hall of Famer that Davante Adams is. But there was a time they were both drafted at the same draft class, 2014 draft class. So we've probably been going on 10 years now, if that's true. So, and Davante Adams played very poorly for 2 years.
Yep.
And after that, I was like, okay, this is the opening Jeff Janis needs. And you were like, no. The coaches say this is the big leap year for Davante Adams. And I was like, no. It would, if not now, then never for Jeff Janis. Let's go. And then you were right. And you were right. So you often will be right about the guys that have misfired, but they're still number one on the depth chart, and we can't dismiss them, and you're not dismissing them, but a lot of people do dismiss them, and you're the one that's saying, not so fast, guys. So you're a big not so fast guy. There could be a rookie that people are really excited about, and you'll be like, not so fast. What about veteran X that you're forgetting about? So this is why you come on, and this is why we want to make sure that we're avoiding some of these super sexy picks that actually aren't going to deliver for fantasy football. And there's going to be guys that are going to deliver that no one's that excited about, but you're going to bring the energy and show why you're excited today. And so that's what we're going to do. We're off and running here. So my first question for you about football is the Bengals. This is the team that's projected to score the most points. This is where the most fantasy points will necessarily come from, if that's the case. They don't have a good defense, which makes even just points, just fantasy points, right? So on the Rabbit game on Fast Draft, I can do these mock drafts, and it's really fun in best ball to try to line up a nice Bengals onslaught. I really enjoy a good Bengals onslaught if you can get Chase and Chase again, double Chase and a Burrow and a Gesicki, just layers of Bengals. I enjoy very much. I want to know what you think about that.
Well, I think you're targeting perhaps the most explosive and talented offense, or one of them, and with a bad defense, so they're going to have to outscore their opponents. And you're looking at Baltimore in week 15, at Miami week 16, and then Arizona at home in week 17. So no real big concerns there. I guess Baltimore could, they're usually not so great against the pass and much better against the run. So that's a pretty good closing schedule for you if you want to go that route. Chase Brown is a nice guy to grab with Burrow because he catches some touchdowns as well. It is the problem with it is that it's expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Chase, top 3, Higgins, second, third round, Burrow's top 5 quarterback, so he's going, and he's kind of getting pushed up a little further than maybe I would want with all the talent at quarterback. Brown going in the second, third round. You can do it, but it's got to be your strategy going in. You got to hit it first 5 rounds, right?
Yeah, you got to go Chase, first or second pick, then beginning of the third round, end of the second round, you got to go Chase Brown. Then you got to turn right around, end of the fourth, beginning of the fifth, and go Burrow. It's very possible, right? And you can always get like last round Gesicki, so that there is a little bit of value. That's the one guy, right? The one value to squeeze out of it. The rest of these guys you're paying up. And so that's what I wanted to know. Is it worth paying up? To me, I think it is worth it because I think it is like there's a gap between the Bengals and the next offense. And one of the reasons is because the other offenses, they have these top tier rushing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. With the Bengals, you know that the touchdowns are going to be, rung up by running backs, or the quarterback and the receiver are both going to get 6. And that's a really nice thing to have that prolific of an offense with a true pocket passer who's just elite, an MVP candidate. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat. And we know what we're getting with these wide receivers, unlike the Chiefs, for example. The Chiefs, it's very unclear what the target distribution is going to be, but we know we can set our watch by the target shares in that Bengals offense. And to me, that's what you're paying for. When you pay for that certainty and the upside. And if I have both, then that's where my money should be spent. That's where my early draft capital should be spent, is on those Bengals. And so that's the fun thing about drafting Chase at the beginning of the first round, is then the clock is starting for how aggressively you can stack the Bengals. That's my mentality going into a draft. If I'm drafting, especially at the 101 or 102 spot.
And for Baltimore, you mentioned Baltimore, Buffalo, and Philly. Those stacks are significantly cheaper. So you are able to.
Not Philly. But I mean, Philly's a little bit cheaper. Philly's certainly a little bit cheaper. Ravens is a little bit of an awkward stack. It's interesting, though. I think the Ravens onslaught is very interesting because then you're talking about Derrick Henry in the second round, and you're talking about
probably
Lamar Jackson third.
And Zay Flowers in the fifth.
You get Zay Flowers in the 6th sometimes.
5th or 6th, yeah.
Yep, so you can get him in the 6th round, and then you get Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
But then there's Isaiah Likely too. If you miss on Andrews, you can also take a flyer on Likely. If you have like a Bowers, right? If you get a Bowers, if you get a Kittle, then that lets you take a chance on a guy like Likely. And that's the other thing. If you're going to do Bengals onslaught and you're going to circle Gesicki, you got to make sure you get at least like one solid tight end in best ball, especially this rabbit game on fast draft. We're talking about like someone like Ingram, someone like Kelsey. Don't like these like Brenton Strange, Mike Gesicki teams. I just don't think that's good enough. And they can really never enter your flex. You also want to give your other tight end that week a chance to get into your flex position. That's what's nice. But the Ravens onslaught. You ever done a Ravens onslaught this year?
Not this year, but talking about it now, you could have a Jamar Chase on top of that with Henry, with Jackson, with Flowers, because you have that first round pick open, and that maybe you're not getting the Burrow Chase stack, but if Chase has 3 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns in the final 3 games, you're going to be right there.
Baltimore can put up enough points where Henry can get there, but then also you're not paying up for Zay Flowers and Andrews and Likely, so that as long as they just beat expectations, that's all you're really hoping for. And then you're vacuuming up all the touchdowns in Baltimore, and they're going to score a lot of points, right? And their defense is going to get a bunch of turnovers. They play the Bengals twice, so that's another nice thing about Baltimore. When you look at the Bills' onslaught, that's a lot cheaper, right? That's a lot cheaper, and that I don't really feel a need to go for James Cook. I feel like you can just get Josh Allen, and then you can wait for a Keon Coleman. You can wait for a Dalton Kincaid. You can even put in Josh Palmer. You can watch Hard Knocks. I mean, that's the nice thing about Hard Knocks is you can see who's running with the ones. Palmer's running with the ones, partly because Khalil Shakir is injured, but he's running with the ones making plays. Those are the two wide receivers running with the ones making plays in camp for the Bills. It's Coleman and it's Palmer. And none of these guys are expensive. So, and we know Josh Allen is just, MVP. He's at the peak of his powers. Like, he's in his super prime. They're clearly going for it this year in every way. The Bills value onslaught feels real good. Really good.
Are you out on Shakir due to was it a high ankle?
I hate it. You have a high ankle sprain in August, I'm probably not drafting you. Why would I? I mean, with Shakir, I wasn't running to go. This Josh Palmer contract just kind of gave me a bad vibe. I was like, this isn't Elijah Moore. This isn't like a prove it deal where they're trying to scrap heap this guy and bring him back from the dead. Maybe they're paying him real money. So that is, and he doesn't have a very differentiated skill set from Shakir. The guy that's differentiated is Keon Coleman. The guy that's being targeted a lot in preseason and in training camp is Keon Coleman, and he's making a lot of plays. I mean, I know that we're biased because we're, the Hard Knocks footage is always, they're going to show completions, but I mean, Keon Coleman, he was an early round pick. He was technically drafted before Ladd McConkey, though that was a mistake. I just think that you can be out on a guy as a prospect, and then if the moon and the stars are aligning for him in his second year, you basically just throw out last year. You have to throw. Are you throwing out last year just Keon Coleman? You drafting him?
Well, I think you make a good case. I mean, the player that I think probably had the best chance to, become a fantasy starter prior to the ankle injury was Shakir, because he was basically a wide receiver 3 last year. But high ankles are tricky. He did injure it a while ago, so I do feel like he might be just have maybe a first couple games where he's a little slow, and then he's okay. So I would be able to take him on the dip, by that dip,
good.
if he does slip past ADP, which he does it seems like he is. Keon Coleman with 29 catches, 556 yards, 19 yards per reception, 4 touchdowns.
Amazing.
57 targets, yeah. So if he makes a leap, you could, with that sort of efficiency or production.
I mean, 864 air yards last year for a rookie is impressive, right? His air yard share was top 40 in the NFL, 28.4% air yard share. And his average target depth, 15.2, top 10 in the league. So he was getting downfield, and because Josh Allen, his accuracy down the field is next level, the target quality rating on Player Profiler for Keon Coleman was number 1 in the NFL, because it factors in target depth and accuracy rating. So, I mean, this is why you play with Josh Allen, so you can have the number 1 target quality rating as a rookie. So,
he did miss a few games too. So if he had just played a full season, you're looking at that same pace, 727 yards instead of 556, and that first season looks even better. He only played 13 games, so. And
he, had to, suffer through bad quarterback play in college. His 2022 year was impressive. With 7 touchdowns, 800 yards at Michigan State. before he transferred. So, I mean, he's just one of those guys where never really put up the big college numbers and then disappointed last year. But when you actually dig a little bit deeper, you're like, okay, this guy actually hasn't fully disappointed, especially when you look back at last year and like, oh, on a per target basis, this guy was getting down the field. In college, this guy was scoring touchdowns, 18 touchdowns his last 2 years. These are the things that we want from an X receiver. These are the ways you score fantasy points. And think about the wide receivers that he's being drafted around. I mean, I think it's very clear. In his zone of ADP, is there anyone else that you even we even touch his ceiling? No.
Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, Michael Pittman are going the 3 spots ahead of him. Darnell Mooney, who's injured. Rashid Shaheed, who's got a major quarterback issue. Jaden Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, not even active right now. Dude. Yeah, it's a good point you're making.
Dude, the only guy in there I really like is Josh Downs.
I like Josh Downs too. I like Jaden Reed too.
Josh Downs, we did it, right? We did it. I predicted this. I asked a lot of people for the over-under on Anthony Richardson, and whenever they said, I said it's the under. Whatever you're saying, I'm taking the under on Anthony Richardson. And then sure enough, they're like, we don't trust him. And I'm like, no kidding. No, really? Wow, no kidding. You don't trust him. That's interesting. There's a reason why they brought in Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is the perfect skill match for Josh Downs. If you're going to feed Wan'Dale Robinson 150 targets, then Josh Downs, who's just a better version of that in every way, is the perfect draft pick in that situation. Love it. Absolutely love that pick. So I think that Josh Downs actually, he's a better football player. He's in a fantastic situation with the quarterback skill match. That would be the one argument. I would probably go Josh Downs before Keon Coleman, but after that, I'm going Coleman.
Would you go Jaden Reed if you were fully healthy?
No. Yes. I don't know. I mean, Jaden Reed, can we talk about the Packers, man? I mean, yes, no, maybe. I don't know. I don't know about these Packers. That's why you're on, man. What do we do? These Packers, man, let's talk about them. I don't like drafting them. I like Jaden Reed, too. Jaden Reed is like a best ball receiver. I even like him for, managed leagues. If he was healthy, I'd love to just play him week 1, see what happens in a managed league. Happy to do it. He's not just a best ball guy, but he is great for best ball in particular. If he's not going to get a full snap share, he's going to have a more limited role, but super explosive in that role. I just have never thought of Jordan Love as a guy that can carry an offense. I feel like they have Josh Jacobs is there to be the centerpiece of the offense, and then Jordan Love is just going to try to manage the team. He's a game manager, but his skill set is very much like a gunslinger. And so whenever I see these guys with these gunslinger skill sets, that the average target depth starts creeping down. Like, Daniel Jones is a big arm, right? Like, there are guys with huge arms, and they end up just being close to the line of scrimmage. Let's keep it safe. Let's keep it simple, because the interceptions just beat it out of them over time, and they it's almost like the light has gone out in their eyes a little bit, where you can see like a Josh Allen, like he's never going to lose that. Right? His eyes are always lighting up to push the ball downfield. And like some of these guys, like a Daniel Jones, and I'm worried that this is where we're at with Jordan Love now, where it's just the light is gone. Like he's just going to keep it. He's the worst of all worlds, in that he's not that accurate, but he's also scared to push the ball downfield. So you've got this guy who has a limited ceiling, but also can hurt you. It's not great. It's a bad situation. And now we're stuck with him for years.
Well, I don't agree with your assessment at this point. Like, this is the first time I've talked with anybody this offseason that doesn't think that the Packer offense is, the passing game specifically, is going to have a big bounce back year. And this explains why he's going QB 17. This sort of argument explains why he's like a mid-range QB 2 right now, even though on a per game basis last year he was QB 13. 2 years ago he was QB 5. So he is a QB 1 essentially fantasy wise when healthy.
Okay.
Watching this team last year, he was gutting it out. And sometimes when a quarterback tries to play through injuries, he ends up doing more harm to his reputation than he should be doing, or it's not productive for him to be out there playing at 70% or 80%, but that's what the team needed. They went super heavy run. Josh Jacobs was completely capable of handling that. The offensive line was good. And that's what they leaned into. So his numbers were down, but they're still like decent. 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 226 yards per game, but there's some games where he's in and out of the lineup and missing some snaps. So I think that this team is going to bounce, this offense, passing offense is going to bounce back. And I think one of my favorite stacks, and you could call me Homer if you want, that's fine. You can get Jordan Love as a mid-range QB2. You can get Matthew Golden with people are split on him as a prospect, but you have to admit the buzz has been fantastic for him. You can get him in the 8th, 9th round. You can get Jaden Reed in the 8th, 9th round, especially now with this foot injury. You can get Dobbs like the last
Jesus Christ
pick of the draft, but he's a touchdown catcher. And you can get Tucker Kraft, and one of my favorite mid-range, middle round tight end values. Got some George Kittle in him. He's up there in yards after the catch per reception. Tackle breaker him as well. And Matt LaFleur saying in the offseason that he didn't do a good enough job of featuring the tight ends. That might mean more Luke Musgrave, but
love Musgrave.
It might also mean more Tucker Kraft. So Jordan Love, I think, is one of the best values on the board, and it's because I saw him 2 years ago, 32 touchdowns, fantasy QB 5. I think he's certainly capable, and the first round draft pick of Golden, Christian Watson working his way back, might be back midseason. I think they have a lot of weapons, and I think it signals that they do want to get that passing game going again.
Here's where I'm at with this, because I know people are going to say, well, he was top 5 in air yards per target on PlayerProfiler. Don't you know the PlayerProfiler? Don't you know that site? Well, yeah, I know that site. But this is more what I'm looking at. So look at this game log. It's a very interesting game log. Okay. So look at what's happening. So beginning of the season, he's throwing picks every game. Picks. And then what happens? He starts to take care of the football, right? But at the expense of the yards per attempt, at the expense of the air yards, at the expense of the fantasy points. As soon as those interceptions went off the board, he never once went back over 20 fantasy points in any given game. So that's what I talk about when I say that it's possible the NFL broke him last year. That is what I'm talking about. Maybe it's not true. But to me, that's the bust risk for a Jordan Love, is that the NFL broke him last year. You're saying he was just injured. And so you're paying attention to preseason. You're paying attention to the beat reporters very closely around the Packers. Is what you're seeing, hey, this guy's back. This is going to be 2023 Jordan Love. Get ready. That's what you're saying.
He's also injured again now. He's got a thumb injury surgery, but at least keeps him off the field for the rest of preseason. He's not going to tear an ACL or anything before week 1. Should be ready to go. I'm looking at his game log: 2 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in that first few games. There were some interceptions there, as you mentioned, and then he did have some multi-touchdown games.
Oh no, he did well in the first half. It's just that's where the interceptions were, and then the interceptions were cleaned up at the expense of fantasy points. That's what I saw last year. that was my perception. And whenever I see this trend, I get very nervous about this feels
And I
busty to me. And in that situation, what I tend to do is actually what I'll do is I'll tend to avoid the running back a little bit more on that team especially if there's a primary back. I'm like, if this offense goes in the wrong direction, that primary back is really going to be put in a situation where it's incredibly difficult to get there and deliver on ADP without the touchdowns and without those opportunities in the red zone. The guy that always interests me no matter what is a number one wide receiver that I think is not quite viewed as that yet. And that's why I like Matthew Golden. I think Matthew Golden is going to be the number one there. I think he's underrated because he only really was not even the starter for a full season in Texas. So the college stats are always going to be trailing on him, and you're always going to have criticism that he didn't do enough in college. But I've had enough people that have come on with that understand the Texas program well. Cody, Alex Dunlap from Roster Watch, most notably, and they just talk about what a stud Matthew Golden is. And they had a lot riding on that pick. The home field pick, first round pick. Hundreds of thousands of people watching that pick live and on television, and they went Matthew Golden. I don't know. I feel very good about Matthew Golden. I don't think that Dobbs is worth it a damn. I think that I'm interested to see if Wicks can get any traction whatsoever. I'm sad for Bo Melton having to lose his role in football and have to play defensive back. But that's just because Dobbs couldn't play D-back, really, is why they had to do that to Melton. And but yeah, so there's an offense where I don't trust it. So if that's the case, if there is a value number one wide receiver available, I'll go that direction. If there's a value tight end, I'll go that direction. So to me, I say green light to draft Golden, green light to draft Kraft. And that's pretty much the extent of my Packers exposure.
Yeah, I think you should be also buying the dip on Jaden Reed. He's going in sometimes in the 9th round now because of this foot injury. No problem with that.
You're buying the dip on a bunch of injured guys this year.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
They'll be okay.
Yeah, well, Jaden Reed will be okay. I don't know
who
about
are you more worried about, Shakir or Reed?
Probably Shakir due to it's a high ankle. And from what I've seen on Reed, it's not as worrisome, but everybody keeps their cards pretty close to the vest in terms of these foot ankle injuries. But once I hear high ankle, I agree with you. Like, it's a 6-week thing before they usually can come back 4 weeks or so, but it's not pretty. And they're not really themselves.
It's a 2-month recovery at least.
Yeah,
it's a 2 to 3 month recovery. If it's severe, it's 3 months. If it's less severe, it's 2 months. They come back in 2 or 3, 4 weeks, and then there's 2 or 3, 4 weeks where they're underperforming, and then finally they start to produce again. But you're giving up. That's a lot of weeks to give up for Shakir.
Yep.
You're talking about the month of September at the very least. So, Josh Palmer's contract also is a little bit worrisome for Shakir. So to get injured after they signed a guy $18 million guaranteed, $8 million signing bonus. That's not a small contract. It's not huge. It's not a mega deal. But again, it's not Elijah Moore. Like, this is they intend to start this guy. They signed him to start him. Someone in Buffalo likes Josh Palmer, even though he is the quintessential average receiver that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, every metric, every stat, everything about Josh Palmer is average, but you put him in that Josh Allen offense, and then you make him like a last round pick in the Fast Draft Rabbit game, promo code FAST for $50 deposit match, then I got to draft him. Do you have any Palmer?
I don't have any Palmer, but you're making a solid case. I had him last year. I think I was kind of burned I'm feeling a little burned by him.
Little fantasy PTSD. I get it, dude. I get it. All right. So I mentioned Keon Coleman as a player that I have been out on, especially last year, and I'm very in on. I'm also very in on Calvin Ridley, and I'm also very in on Ramondre Stevenson, just based on where they go. I've never liked Ramondre. I always thought Ramondre Stevenson was kind of like a Brian Robinson, like not explosive, but made a bunch of plays in the passing game that may or may not have just been randomness, disguised as talent. And then sure enough, they try to replace him in the draft, just like Brian Robinson. Sure enough, like he's being threatened by a 7th round pick. That's not good. But in the 14th round, something like that, Ramondre Stevenson, then I'm fine with it because he is the de facto starter. And I don't think that they intend to use Travion Henderson. Everything I've read, a lot of Boston. The nice thing about Boston is lots of beat reporters, and I don't think there's anyone in Boston saying, hey, they're lining this guy up to be the primary back. No, he's going to be this sort of explosive Jahmyr Gibbs-like player, but the David Montgomery is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. And if you believe in that offense taking a leap, it's like the other side of the coin. If you have like the most expensive onslaught with the Bengals, turn the coin over, the least expensive, the Patriots onslaught. And if you could pull that off, I mean, everyone like put it in the Fast Draft Discord. Go to Discord, look for Fast Draft. I'll put the Discord link in the podcast description and in the streaming description. But we have a Rate My Team channel for Fast Draft. If you can, in the Rabbit game, 15-round best ball, those drafts take 20 minutes. If you can get a Bengals onslaught and a Patriots onslaught, by the way, sounds tricky to just get to let your league mates are somehow going to let you get 2 onslaughts that are great values, especially the Patriots. Great upside with the Bengals, great value with the Patriots. It's very possible. It's very possible. Watch it happen. Hunter Henry, no one's trying to snipe you on Hunter Henry. No one's going to try to snipe you on Demario Douglas, Stephon Diggs. No one's trying to snipe you on any of these guys. And the beauty is because no one's aggressively drafting those receivers, no one's trying to aggressively stack Drake May. And that makes him easier to acquire. And again, I put Ramondre Stevenson in there with all those other Patriots that you can. There's a lot of great options that are very affordable. You know, Demario Douglas is going very late. Stephon Diggs is reportedly just super healthy. He's like the wide receiver version of Adrian Peterson with this ACL. And so I'm in on Diggs in a way that I'm rarely in on guys recovering from ACLs. But anyway, 2 questions. I guess this became a 2-part question, really a 3-part question, which is let's make sure we talk about Patriots onslaught, and I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to get your thoughts on Calvin Ridley. But before that, I need to know if there is a guy that you were out on last year in a big way that you're back in on.
Well, to answer your question, I was out on this player. I took your question as in were you out on him at any point and back in on him? Like I was out on Isaiah Pacheco earlier this summer, and all it takes is Andy Reid saying he looks tremendous and seeing some scampers to get back in on Isaiah Pacheco, given the value that you can get there, and then the upside in that offense and the competition he has for touches there. Like, I mean, it was very dire late last year that he was being benched for Kareem Hunt at this point in Kareem Hunt's season, but you could understand it the way that Pacheco was running. His efficiency numbers were terrible, but he's coming back from a broken fibula. He's trying to come back and help the team in the playoffs and, doing the best he can. But it sounds like he's back, and he was like a 3rd round pick last year, and you can get him in the 6th or 7th now as RB whatever,
RB25.
RB25.
RB25. He's going at slot 69 on Fast Draft and Rabbit.
Who's the next 2 running backs? Because it does seem like he's rising a little bit now.
That's right. Yeah. So you got Pacheco going right after Montgomery. And so they're in a tier by themselves. Above that is Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, this is
Below that, if you go further down below from Pacheco, you
Aaron
get Aaron
Jones,
Jones, Tony Pollard.
25.
So that was a tier. In the Rabbit 3 weeks ago, that was a tier where often Jones and Pollard were going before Pacheco. Now Pacheco has jumped up 10 spots or so, just 4 spots in the last week. So he's clearly surging, and for all the right reasons. Like this is an offense you want exposure to. This is a player that doesn't have a lot of touch competition in his backfield. Why not? Right? He has an all-purpose skill set. He has explosive, big playability, and he was hurt at the end of last year in a way that he had to totally immobilize his leg, suffer through that atrophy, didn't get his strength back until the offseason, and now he's back to being electric again. No surprise. And then Kareem Hunt is another year dustier.
Yeah. I specifically like the hero RB approach with a second round running back and grabbing like a Pacheco or a Montgomery or even a Pollard. I love the value with Pollard that late. You wanted to talk about Calvin Ridley?
I do, but listen, we're all over the place, man. We're gonna be.
Yeah.
The good thing is though, I'm a pretty good navigator. I can pick up these buoys. I can bring us back, and then we're gonna go back, and then to the buoys, and then the back, and then the buoys. So second round hero RB. That means you love Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry.
Not so much Taylor, but I think with Daniel Jones there, it helps his receiving floor.
Big time. Thank you.
I almost wrote him as the guy that was out on, and then would be back into now because he is a very capable pass catcher, but Richardson doesn't throw to his running backs.
No, this is the one guy that the Josh Downs bump was immediate. We could go the rest of the summer and no one really figures out, hey, wait a second, this Daniel Jones is actually really good for Jonathan Taylor.
It is, and it's it's a doubling the running back target share between Jones and Richardson. The other thing I want to make about Daniel Jones is that I am a believer in reclamation projects when it comes to quarterbacks. We've seen it before. We saw it last year with Darnold in Minnesota, which really you give a hat tip to Kevin O'Connell with that. But
can I stop you? I know Chad. I'm sorry, Chad. I'm sorry, everybody, listeners. I know you're in your car, you're running, whatever, and you're like, "Why is he interrupting? This is annoying." Let the guest speak. The number one person who needs to be credited with Sam Darnold's reclamation is Justin Jefferson. Then we can talk about Kevin O'Connell, but I want to make sure the rankings are correct.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Thank you for interjecting that. Justin Jefferson's a very good receiver, and it does help to have a stud top 2, top 3 receiver in the league to
I just have a bias for the players that are actually on the field doing the thing as opposed to the guys with the khakis that are just talking.
Okay. Sure. Not worth getting into a big argument about. Daniel Jones started his career and it was decent. Rookie season, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, can run the ball. Never a big volume guy. I mean, he's only gone over 3,000 passing yards twice. But I mean, if you have a rookie quarterback and he, puts up 24 and 12 and I don't know, 6.6 yards per attempt, for a rookie, I think you get I think the media in New York, the microscope, I think he's going to have a chance to, in a much smaller market, to sort of reclaim his career and get himself back on track. So I think, the Colts pass catchers, and that includes Jonathan Taylor, because Daniel Jones will actually throw it to the running back, are all going to benefit by this decision to start Jones. And it doesn't, like, my concern when I'm doing projections is like, well, how much of a leash does he have? Are they going to go 1-3 and then they're going to now go back to Richardson? It sounds like they want to just start Jones and see how it goes. So, it might be mid-season if things are going really poorly. but they have a pretty good team, and probably going to be 4-4, something like that. So he should be okay, and I think that's good for the offense right now, except for Alec Pierce, maybe, because Richardson and Alec Pierce had a nice connection. Can I go
Bye-bye, Alec Pierce.
Calvin Ridley? Definitely in on Calvin Ridley. It's tough because he's, I look at my rankings, and at that 4-5 turn, my rankings are saying take Calvin Ridley, but he's gonna be gone by the next turn. So you have to take him there if you want him, but he's like right there with some of those other 4-5 guys, projections wise. And you're like, do I want to defy the ADP? I think Ridley though, because the route running's still there. Reception perception, Matt Harmon, I'm a big believer in his process. Still elite route runner. We have now a upgraded quarterback situation.
Big time.
Cam Ward is not getting like a lot of attention for the number 1 pick, but everything that I've seen coming out of it sounds like it's going pretty well.
Oh, he's going to be very good.
Yeah, he doesn't have much target competition, Ridley. I mean, Lockett's there, but he's kind of old now, and Van Jefferson. They do have a rookie they like, but there's not much at tight end.
Nick Westbrook-Akine still there?
No, he's somewhere else. Akine.
Who cares? Doesn't matter.
No.
He has the offense to himself.
Miami.
They had one drive in preseason. It was like the whole offense. This is unbelievable. He could have a career year. He could easily have a career year with Cam Ward. Cam Ward can push the ball to the outside, and he does it fearlessly. He is not Jordan Love. I just had to. I had to do it. So this is talk about a value stack. My goodness. What about Chig? Can you stomach Chig in best ball as a second or third tight end?
The snap rates with the starters are encouraging because he in the years past has been like a part-time player, but now it appears that he is going to be playing with Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley really consistently. And if he's out there 80% of the time, he's athletic enough to produce in that offense, given all the other issues they have at receiver and,
it's their second best receiver now
elsewhere. So yeah, I think for the value, if you're trying to stack, then, the Ridley, Okonkwo, Ward stack is quite cheap.
It's amazing. It's really good. I love these backdoor stacks. Again, I like one stud stack and I like one backdoor stack. Titans probably the second best of the backdoor stacks after the Patriots. So let's talk about the Patriots. Patriots onslaught. You in for this? Are you in for Patriots season this year? Because I'm ready for it. I think it's going to happen.
I mean, I'm not ready to use the word onslaught with the Patriots, but if you're going to do that, you need to hope that they go from like bottom of the league in offense to like middle of the pack. And if that happens, then you're in good shape.
That's right. I think that's all you need for Hunter Henry to get there, for Ramadre to get there. They're just all so inexpensive, and best comparable player for Drake May on Player Profiler is Josh Allen. There's real mobility there. There's size. There's gunslinger mentality with the big arm. I also believe in just identifying one fact and then leveraging that one fact that maybe is not fully understood or fully internalized by every fantasy gamer, and then using it to win. So, for example, the 2024 quarterback class was exceptional. And so if knowing that, if you just place bets on the Broncos, the Patriots, the Bears, and just say, hey, I'm going to lean into the Falcons. I'm going to lean into this because a lot of these 2024 quarterbacks, they didn't break out. Certainly there was Jaden Daniels, and for whatever reason, didn't play a full complement of games, didn't have a great supporting cast, the worst coaches in the league if you're Chicago, if you're poor Caleb Williams. Not that coaches are everything, but yeah, if you have the worst coaches, okay, then you are at a disadvantage. Okay, I will admit that 100%, that Caleb Williams was set up to fail. So just knowing that, there's just a bunch of offenses that you can say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and stack up a Dunze and Caleb Williams, and might even throw a dart on like a even a Cole Kmet. There's a whole bunch of these late round tight ends that you can be taking shots on that to fill out your stacks. That's why I say you get a Kittle, dude, take it easy at tight end. You're good. You got all these guys. You got Brenton Strange. You got Hunter Henry. You got so many tight ends, a Okonkwo, that you can backdoor stack late. That in best ball and in general, unless it's tight end premium and you're getting an incredible value on a guy like an Ingram or a Kelsey, then I do not want to just over the robust tight end. I don't think you need to do it this year. There's quite a few options late, and they just happen to align with a lot of my favorite value stacks. Is the big thesis there?
Hunter Henry, I think, is probably the best value on the board at tight end.
Yep.
Tight end 12 last year, improving offense. Still going to see a big number of targets in that offense with Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator, improving quarterback. He's still in his prime, just turning 30, and tight ends age well, better than other positions. So tight end 19 right now. He's my favorite, like tight end 2. If I do go early tight end, I mean, in that fast draft that I did the other day, I got Kittle and Kraft.
There you go.
But if I wasn't going to get Kraft, you could wait quite a while and still get Hunter Henry as your backup there, and you're going to get low end tight end 1 numbers or high end tight end 2 numbers.
Round 15 for Hunter Henry in the Rabbit. So let's take a look at the so if you go to fastdraft.app, you can see the contest ADP tab shows you all the ADPs publicly. And if we scroll down, we can see where's Brenton Strange, where's Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry going at exactly slot 150. And you can see
after likely.
Yes, after likely. It doesn't make sense. And he's 50% owned. So the beauty is if he does well, like if Brenton Strange does well or Goddard does well or Pitts does well, they're over 80% owned. The nice thing is Henry, if he does well, only half of your opponents even will have him. Right? And then Chig, he's only 12.5% owned. So that's even lower. Gesicki, 8.5. Jatavian Sanders, 6.2. So I think it really starts at Hunter Henry where you can start to leverage ownership in that final round of the best ball draft and be like, okay, this is how I can get some leverage on the field. This is the swath of tight ends from Henry down through Jatavian Sanders that I'm most interested in in terms of just leveraging value, especially in these drafts where I have a Kittle. And you did. You drafted Kittle. What's
nice.
your read on the 49ers this year?
Well, I think, change, especially in the receiving game. Debo is gone, and the offense was, even though he wasn't great last year, the offense is very Debo-centric whenever he's available. George Kittle tends to crush it whenever Debo's not available. He goes from like third option in the passing game to second or first. The player that immediately jumped out as a screaming value was Juwan Jennings when I did my first set of projections, just based on what he did last year, how much he plays. They love him as a run blocker, and he was now starting to produce as a fantasy player. But I don't know if he's actually has a calf injury or if this is just like a hold-in because he's upset about his contract.
I've had multiple people that are familiar with the organization behind the scenes that have emailed me and said, this is 100% a hold-in. It's nothing.
So, because he came back for like a day and then, quote unquote, re-injured his calf, and now he's sitting out. So I think eventually they'll figure it out. Pearsall obviously has gone from being this kind of oft injured guy. He was struggling with injuries in the summer, and now the buzz is fantastic for him. So
yeah.
there is a path for Pearsall to outscore Jennings, but I think they're both going to be productive. And I think Kittle has a good shot to be the overall tight end one. Again, he was last year in half PPR, barely, but he also played 2 fewer games than Brock Bowers did. So the per game average was 13.7, I think, in half PPR. I love Kittle's value because he's the third one off the board of the elite tight ends. So he sometimes is slipping third, fourth round. And I just think that's fantastic if you're comparing that to Bowers in the late first or Trey McBride in the second round. Kittle can like break games for you, like multiple touchdowns. And I just think, I'm an advocate for stud tight end. And if I, sometimes I get sniped on them, and then I'm looking for Tucker Kraft. That's basically this next group of tight ends. They're fine. If somebody slips, maybe if Laporta slips or something, sure. But I think the value with Kraft or Tyler Warren is there. And that's the next tier, next group that I'm looking at.
Tyler Warren, man. Tyler Warren is now in play with Daniel Jones named the starter this early in the process. I love Marion Hampton. We'll talk about him later. But after Marion Hampton and the Rabbit, there's a bunch of landmines. There's a bunch of guys that I don't love. Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just... And then in the middle of that is George Kittle. Like in the middle of this chaos, in the middle of all these doubts and risk, there's a guy that's just so clearly going to smash this year.
You're seeing the same drop off that I've been seeing in the middle of the third. So that's where you had that up, and Kittle's obvious. And then I think Jaden Daniels is even possible there. I don't usually take elite quarterback, but you're looking at everybody else and you're like, why am I going to draft some receiver that I don't like when I can just, draft the number 3 quarterback in Jaden Daniels or George Kittle, who's tight end 1 last year.
Well, yeah, and the Rabbit, the nice thing is because it's 10 teams, you can go Daniels, McLaurin at the 4-5 turn, which is really cool. Just a really cool thing to do. So that's one of the neat stacks that you can do. And then, of course, 15th round, who's available at low ownership, Zach Ertz. And you can also pile into Eckler and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. We're going to talk about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. We're going to talk about Eckler. We're going to talk more about Brian Robinson. We're going to talk more about these guys. And there's one running back we haven't talked about yet who's probably going to spoil the whole batch. But we'll get into that later. Okay. What about Christian McCaffrey? Because he's been storming the Bastille in the ADP first round, like Genty, bye-bye. Like he's just cruising past these guys. Is he in your top 5 running backs?
He's 6.
So no. So he's not in your top 5 running backs.
He's not in my top 5.
All right, so that was my big question. I have no idea, where you stood on McCaffrey, and now I know.
The injury history scares me a little with him. Now I'm glad that he's healthy. I've seen some workout videos, and he's doing these plyos and looks good. But I think I'd rather take a risk on the rookie, Jonty, and then Derrick Henry has been excellent. So maybe this is the year to be off to Henry, but it's never really not worked out to be on Henry. So
you can wait until next year to start fading Henry for all these mileage reasons. But he was so lightly used with DeMarco Murray there in Tennessee early in his career, and then Dion Lewis after that I don't have workload concerns with him, and we know his workout regimen is incredible. So just make the obvious move, the 2,000-yard rusher in the second round. Just do it. Oh, it's full PPR. Oh, the Rabbits full PPR. So what? Touchdown still scores 6 points. last time I checked. So, and he's got to catch some passes. So, yeah, man, Derrick Henry. I'm not with you. I would prefer McCaffrey, but I would prefer and I prefer McCaffrey over Genti as well. To me, the ceiling games are there, and because they've shed a bunch of receivers, I think that he could really crush it in the receiving game this year, unlike he's done in San Francisco yet. So that's very possible for him, and that's it's not like a crazy conversation. Like, I like Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football. Let's talk about that. But yeah, I know he has a bunch of scar tissue in his hamstring and in his ankles and his calf. I know, in his quad. I know. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm rehabbing my own injury that I'm more forgiving this year about it. But also it's one of the reasons why I'm so big on Pacheco, because I've been reminding everybody, hey, listen, this guy had atrophy in his leg. He wasn't going to be 100%. He came back, was a warrior last year, but you shouldn't hold it against him, even though I am holding it against Jordan Love, and I understand that.
May I just say that McCaffrey, I did pull up my PPR rankings, and I do have him at 5 in PPR. So
there you go. Okay. Yeah, I figured 5 makes sense. Now, is there a running back we haven't talked about that you actually like even more than the running backs we've mentioned so far in drafts?
Well, I brought up the hero RB in the second round, and so to me, you said Jonathan Taylor or
you said Henry and Jonathan Taylor. I feel like early second round you can go Henry, late second round you can go Taylor. So I figured that's where you were going when you're doing hero RB second round. I was hoping you weren't going to say Achane, but maybe.
I've moved Achane down due to this lower leg injury. So he's now at looks like he's at 11 and half PPR. But
right.
Bucky Irving I like late second. Chase Brown I like late second. Josh Jacobs in that same. Those guys are all solid, not going to lose your league type picks, and I think they do have a chance here to jump up ahead of one of these guys that's going earlier. So I think after that, and we talked about, Marion Hampton is kind of the line.
Yeah.
I have Kyron there right now, but Kyron it's dicey because of the Stafford. He's not as dependent on Stafford as Puka and Devontae are, but he's still dependent on Stafford, and back injuries for 30 whatever year old quarterbacks are dicey, and it just doesn't seem like Stafford is in a good spot right now, being it's August 20th. They have him doing 20 passes, and then they're like shutting him down, and we don't know what's going on. So like Puka's slipping, Devontae's slipping, and I would be a little nervous about Kyron even in the third round. There is a weird drop off at running back there as well. But
he can't hurt you if you avoid Kyron Williams. Don't draft him. There's not a lot that can. Even last year, like it was like, hey, you were wrong about Kyron. Yeah, but it didn't really hurt you. And the other running backs that were pivot running backs there delivered, so it's perfectly fine. I think there's a big difference in how badly you can be hurt by avoiding Bucky Irving versus avoiding Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams is going to be taken off the field more for all these. They now have 2 breather backs, plus they have questions about their overall offense. Plus there's questions about his durability. Whereas Bucky Irving, he might be undersized like Kyron Williams is, but he's more explosive. He's a better all-purpose player. He's better in the receiving game, and I think he's one of the signature sort of work ethic players in the league. So for all these reasons, like I'm now so in on Bucky, where I was I looked at his ADP. I saw him going second round in the very early best ball games this year. And I was like, what are we talking about here? Like, there's still Rashad White there. And, and I was like, there's no way Baker Mayfield can be as good. And all these reasons, like that the moon and the stars aren't going to align for Bucky Irving again this year. That was my thinking. But then I'm like, well, man, the schedule came out and it's soft. And it's especially soft in the second half. And that's best case scenario, in particular for primary running backs. You want a nice, soft second half schedule. And then I'm like, just almost like Brian Robinson level news about Rachaad White. Now, Rachaad White is a little more of a team player. He's a little bit more of like I think he's probably expecting a little bit less because he was already usurped last year. So I don't think that there's as much ego in the mix with Rachaad White as there is with Brian Robinson and what's happening right now. But all these things stack up to say, like, green light, Bucky Irving, second round. I just can't believe I'm here. It's taken me months to get to this level of confidence with Bucky Irving in the second round. Because I was like, oh, just take Chase Brown if you have to. You reach for a second round running back, take Chase Brown. What's wrong with that? I love that. That's the offense. But now I'm like, man, Buccaneers are going to roll in the second half. And they're going to feed this dude.
Yeah, I got a lot of Bucky. I love him in the late second. Chase Brown as well. So that's the hero RB strategy. So I'm forcing myself to go receiver early, mid first round, because I do like these second round running backs quite a bit.
Who's a bigger bust risk? Kyron Williams for all the factors we talked about, or Breece Hall?
Breece Hall is a bigger bust risk.
I know. I don't like it. Like, if I were running a team, Breece Hall would be featured, but I don't run NFL teams, guys.
Very athletic and might catch a ton of passes. They just don't have a lot at receiver other than Garrett Wilson. So there is a path for him to, have 70 catches, 80 catches or something ridiculous at the running back position for him to return value at PPR, if not beat it. But what you're hearing out of camp is that Braylon Allen is getting a lot of carries. They're trying to do the Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs thing, which isn't necessarily bad for Breece Hall if he's the Jahmyr Gibbs. But this offense is not going to be as good as the Lions offense. And we have issues with, if
they had Goff, it'd be a different story,
yeah.
But they have Fields. It's a completely different context.
If Fields was, I always pay attention to negative reports in preseason. I take all positive reports with a grain of salt unless it's a steady drumbeat. But anytime there's negative reports in preseason, it's red flags for me. Justin Fields, I still like his value given his rushing upside. And if he can do anything like he did in Chicago with the Jets, then he's going to be fine as a QB 12 off the board. He's going to probably beat that because he can run the ball so well. But just you're getting like dire accuracy connection reports on seemingly on a daily basis. He's not even jiving well with Wilson. And so it's just, this whole passing offense is sliding down I was loving Garrett Wilson early third.
Loving Garrett.
And yes. now it's like, I don't know, like it might be a slow start to the season and that could hamstring your fantasy team in September.
I was affected by that one drive in preseason though. Just march down the field. I know it's one drive, but that did affect me. I have to say, it affected me. I was like, man, this is what it's going to be like. It's just going to be, where is Garrett Wilson or run? And I'm like, oh my God, I love that so much. I can't get off it, dude. I know that it's negative and I get it, but they get nobody else. It's going to be Justin Fields.
Where is Garrett Wilson? Where is Breece Hall or run? That should be the.
Yeah, I'm all about Garrett Wilson in the third round, and I can't draft Breece Hall. I can't. It's terrifying. Yeah. And Braylon Allen every time. Braylon Allen. This guy, we can look up his speed score on PlayerProfiler. It's got to be 96th percentile-ish at least. He's just a good player. He's a good player. He's very young when he was drafted too. Came out early. Yep, 96th percentile. I know he's best comparable to a guy like Jordan Howard, but Jordan Howard had multiple 1,000-yard seasons. And this is basically like Jordan Howard if Jordan Howard could catch. And that's good, right? He's up on underdog. Braylon Allen is up 32 spots. Right? And yet, fast draft still very exploitable. The rabbit game, Braylon Allen still available late. Doesn't make any sense. But, hey, it doesn't make sense. That, like, Bashal Tutin going before Braylon Allen it exemplifies the exploitability, especially this rabbit game. I mean, look at Bashal Tutin. He's the most terrifying because there was like a week period where every day on 32 beat writers there was something negative coming out about Tutin. It was like ball security, pass pro, work ethic. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
So what are we doing? What are we doing here? Bashal Tutin. There's a chance, it's likely that the season expires and you're like, what happened to Tutin? We never really got any Tutin.
Darn Tutin.
Yeah.
No, I think you probably that's a tough backfield to sort of figure out right now because they keep dicking around with the carries in camp, and then they are doing different things in games. And I think ultimately you have Travis Etienne, if he's still with the team, definitely going to be the passing down back. There's some scuttlebutt that they're featuring him or Bigsby for trades. I don't know. Like, it seems like Tank Bigsby led the league in yards after contact per carry per attempt, tied with Derrick Henry. That's pretty good. So you seem to think he's a second down guy, and then Etienne on third down, but that kind of tips your hand. And maybe Liam Cohen wants to get Etienne back in there as a 3-down back, or at least one of those first 2 downs plus third down, like a lot of receptions for Etienne, potentially. I don't know what to do with Jacksonville. I was targeting Bigsby heavily because he was the third Jacksonville back off the board, and he was the first one in reps in camp,
Right.
for weeks.
Yeah.
And, now I don't know because they come out in the preseason game and, Etienne plays the whole first couple drives or whatever. And so it's just unclear what's going on there. And I don't know how much value, even if Tank Bigsby is the 2-down back there, I don't know how much value he's going to have on a weekly basis.
I think you can draft Travis Etienne pretty comfortably. I think that's the move. And I think that Jacksonville is going to make a leap because they have to. I mean, if they don't, it's over. Like, if they don't, they have to. I mean, imagine the scenario where they don't hit the over. Their over-under is 7.5 wins. And so my buddy and I went through all the over-unders, and I can't place bets or anything. But we independently went through all the over-unders, and then I was like giving him my Bulls case or Bears case, etc. And I was like, and he wrote them all down, and I was like, well, what are your over-unders? Like, who do you like that I don't like, and so on. He's like, oh no, I have the same as you. And I'm like, wait a second, dude, what a trick! What are you contributing? So anyway, my argument for Jacksonville was they've got to win 8 games because if they don't win 8 games, if they're a 7-win team, like, are you prepared for Trevor Lawrence to be a bust? Like, do you realize what's going to have to happen to this franchise? They're going to have to rebuild the whole thing. And this is like $200+ million down the drain. This is we're talking about like a 6 to 8 year timeline. So they better hit the over. And they are better. They have been investing in the defense. They have stabilized the offensive line. They've certainly upgraded their receivers. They've given Trevor Lawrence every opportunity to make at least a mini leap. I think he will. I'm done rooting against him. I think he was a fun player to root against for many years, but I think that things have come together for him where he has the weaponry, and as long as he doesn't have like the worst offensive line in the league, as long as you give him some time to throw, I think he's going to execute. I think Brian Thomas is a good pick, especially if you can get him in the second round. And I don't love Travis Hunter just because rookie receivers that early, that's not been my forte. Again, that's just one of those things where he really can't beat you. So if a guy can't beat me that early, I'm more likely just to fade him. But then there's all this value. Trevor Lawrence goes late. Brenton Strange goes late. ETN is super late. So just even in deeper leagues, De'Ami Brown. Not crazy. De'Ami Brown, they like him. And De'Ami Brown, whenever he was asked to make plays, he made plays in Washington. Some of the biggest plays you saw the best plays of Jaden Daniels, they were to De'Ami Brown. The few opportunities he got. So I just think there's a lot of value there in Jacksonville, and it has to happen. This is a soft division too. They're playing the Titans twice. They're playing Houston, which arguably does have the worst pass protection in the league. They're playing the Colts with Daniel Jones. As much as we like Daniel Jones, I mean, come on, it is Daniel Jones. I mean, this is not a scary game on the calendar.
I think you touched on Travis Hunter and questioning his ADP. All green route charting over at reception perception, easily the best receiving prospect in this class, according to Matt Harmon. Again, I trust his process, and he's pointed me the right way on a lot of these guys over the years, especially guys that have actually been in the league a couple of years that, like a Tyreek Hill, for example. Everybody thought he was a speed guy only, and there's a 1 year where he was going fifth round, I think, and Harmon's charting said no, he's legit, and he ended up, I don't know, top 5 that year. So I am not afraid of Travis Hunter. I will say that he is going now in that range where, like, you have a Calvin Ridley, and do you really want to take a rookie who's the number 2 option in a so-so passing attack over Calvin Ridley? That starts to get a little dicey there. But I think you get in the 6th round, late 5th, 6th round. I had no problem with Travis Hunter due to the talent. And then Liam Cohen saying that, he threw out 80% in terms of offensive snaps for Hunter. And if that's the case, he should be fine there. But it's going to take a lot for him to outproduce his ADP. Like, it's going to take him eating into Brian Thomas's target share to do that. And I don't know that he's going to do that.
I think he's good, man. I think Travis Hunter is good. I just think that what you're asking for in Travis Hunter is what you're getting already with George Pickens in a more proven offense with a more proven quarterback on a team that's even more pass first than Jacksonville. So I'd rather have Pickens. Devontae Smith is in a much more stable situation, and you're basically hoping that Travis Hunter is Devontae Smith. So just draft Devontae Smith if that's what you're hoping for. Then you've got true number ones like Sutton, Metcalf, Ridley, and that it leaves no room. It leaves no room for me to. Why am I drafting Travis Hunter when I can have Chris Olave? I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Roma Dunze, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with Dunze.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with Olave at all. Like, given the nature of that quarterback room, he's been outscored by Rashid Shaheed the last couple seasons. I think he's a good route runner, but look at who's throwing the ball. I would much rather have Travis Hunter.
You'd rather have Jennings, though. Juwan Jennings.
Not right now. He's sitting out of camp.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. This
Travis
Olave thing is really interesting because they're going to be losing a lot. There's going to be a lot of garbage time, big plays to Olave. That's the thesis. But you're right that it is very dangerous to be spending up on anyone, whether it be Kamara, whether it be Olave, in these bottom of the bucket offenses. It's risky. It really, because the whole game could expire, and they never got anything going on offense. They could barely get past the 50-yard line. What are we doing here? Okay, they're airing it out. Oh, Olave's top 5 in air yards. Yeah, but he's number 36 in fantasy points per game. And you took him at wide receiver 34. Big deal. Right? Can these quarterbacks deliver big plays down the field? Probably not. Probably not. I hate it because I like Olave. See, the thing is, what's really saved me is a couple picks earlier is Odunze, a couple picks later is Jennings. So as much as I like Olave, when I'm doing my mock drafts, I have a whole mock draft portfolio on Fast Draft, because you can just do any mock draft. Like if you're in the draft room while you're waiting for it to fill, you can just do a mock draft. And so I do all these mock drafts, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had more Olave. But I just don't, just for that scenario. Now I'm like seriously thinking phew, because typically that would be a situation I avoid, and it's talking to people like you that wakes me up. It's like, hey man, not only is this a bad offense, but Shaheed's very good, and he's back, and they are similar actually in where they exploit defenses on the football field. This is how you can get in a situation where a guy disappoints, where he falls outside the top 40 in fantasy points per game, and you're like, but this is Chris Olave. Yeah, well, you can't just draft players on talent alone. That's a huge mistake in fantasy. Or vice versa. Just like drafting Brian Robinson's a big mistake if you're drafting on situation alone.
I think if you're interested in taking a shot on the New Orleans offense, I think Shaheed he's going wide receiver 52.
Just do that.
And Olave is going wide receiver 35. And, Olave over Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Matthew Golden, Igbuka. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, he goes. I think that Juwan Jennings is his own animal. I think he has double-digit touchdowns. I think there's so much going on with Juwan Jennings. It's so wide receiver 1-ish. Beyond him, though, I think you're dead on. That Igbuka tier. There are guys like Josh Downs, Matthew Golden. Yeah. You can basically get similar production later. So just pivot.
So you'd have to gamble that the quarterback situation in New Orleans isn't as bad as it seems.
That is my gamble.
If that happens, then that pays off. But Olave had two good first seasons, but he had a competent quarterback.
So late round wide receiver, I like to set it up where if I don't go 5 receivers in the rabbit, that if I go 6 receivers, that 6 receiver is very late, because you can sneak guys in like a Josh Palmer, which I think, or a Christian Kirk, I think are just underrated at this point. Demario Douglas. But a guy that you drafted in the draft that I saw you do was Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
So, Shaheed and Tillman are my favorite picks late. Shaheed is only being drafted in 61% of drafts. Tillman only 34%, 35% for Cedric Tillman. And so with Tillman, you get the late round pick, plus you get the fact that you're only one of 3 teams, any given team in that tournament, that even has this guy, which is such a cool advantage. Looking at the Browns offense, what's your read on the Browns offense? Because David Njoku is probably the most obvious guy to be drafting.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of late round guys where there's not a quarterback you really want, but you can fill out your roster late with some of these Browns. So what's your overall view of the Browns? Are they going to deliver, or are they going to be disappointing?
Well, the story starts, and I don't know if it ends, but it definitely starts with whoever's playing quarterback. And when Joe Flacco and his 40-something pass attempts per game is named the starter, then I'm much more bullish on Judy and especially Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman going wide receiver 62 off the board, despite a really nice run last year after Amari Cooper was traded away. Judy was finished wide receiver 12 last year, but he was like wide receiver 23, I think, on a per game basis. So it was a little bit misleading there. More of a wide receiver 2-3 for me. But Tillman, 4-game run, 8 for 81 on 12 targets against the Bengals, 7 for 99 and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets against the Ravens, 6 for 75 and a touchdown on 11 targets against the Chargers, and then 3 for 47 on 8 targets against the Saints. Then he was a wide receiver 8 on a per game basis and had the 6th most targets in that span. And then he gets injured and then everybody forgets about him. And he's the number 2 or number 3, I guess, if you're into Njoku in a offense that's going to have to throw the ball. I mean, they're not going to be leading a lot of games, I don't think. So to me, Tillman is a smash wide receiver 6 pick. Love having him, up and coming receiver. There was good buzz between with the connection between Flacco and Tillman early in OTAs and early in camp. So I think he's a really nice pick at that point in the draft. And he's like the difference between him and Judy and where they're going, I think is, way too vast.
Wacky. It's wacky. Yeah, Judy's not a guy that I'm, when there's Diggs in that same zip code of drafts and there's Igbuka and there's Downs, there's really not a lot of room to be overweight on Judy. But Tillman, my goodness. He is a close comp to Nico Collins,
Yeah.
Like it is stylistic. It is where they're drafted. It's athletically. It's just everything. Like there's very few players on Player Profiler who are better comparable to their best comparable than Cedric Tillman is to Nico Collins.
He's going after Adam Thielen, Hollywood Brown, Luther Burden, who's the 4th receiver right now in Chicago, as I understand it, Rashad Bateman. He's going after all these players, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense, especially now that Flacco's named the starter. There's a couple no-brainers
Right.
with these guys getting named the starter. It's Downs, slam dunk, Tillman, slam dunk. I'm glad we're on the same page, dude. It makes me feel good. So, what about Drake London? Are we on the same page with Drake London? Mooney is hurt. I don't want to front load this question too much. I just want to put it out there.
Right.
No, I already started. But let's talk about Drake London and why you think he's going to be should be a first round pick.
Well, I don't know about first round pick, but I love getting him as that last player in that tier of Nico, Thomas, Drake London. And I think I would take him over Puka at this point. Because AJ Brown's there at wide receiver 10. He's got this hamstring injury, but he's starting to kind of work his way back. I just wonder about his health to start the season. Ladd McConkey, who I like, but he will be affected by Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen will be more affected by McConkey, but there are some targets there that might end up going to Allen because they kind of work the same area of the field in the slot.
I knew that you would say that. I just knew.
Because I like vets.
If I could place a futures bet on that, I would have won some money.
I would draft McConkey though there in that range though. I think he does have, especially in PPR, he's got that upside. But back to London.
You can't fade McConkey. This guy has sick upside, especially in best ball. Keenan Allen gets injured. Quentin Johnston's already injured. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be just radar lock on McConkey, and he's a sports car. That guy has serious upside.
I've gotten London in late second and back-to-back drafts, and I like that a lot because you're getting that last guy, I think, in that second tier maybe.
How did you do that? Like, I don't even know how you did that. I think that's ridiculous that he goes late second round.
Well,
where Puka was going is where London should have been going all year. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, unless you think that Penix is this huge bust risk, which I don't think so. I think that, again, I've staked out my position. Those top 10 quarterbacks from 2024, they're all good. And that's the one. If you just used one rule of thumb to get out ahead this year, it would be that. Just understand he's good. And what do you, Odunze had like 1,600 plus yards with Michael Penix. And now we have Mooney hurt. You have Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's never going to be a big target magnet. And it's just going to be Bijan, London, Bijan, London, Bijan, London, London, Bijan, London, Bijan, London, Bijan. Feels good.
39% of Penix pass attempts went to Drake London.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I respect Puka. I respect Nico Collins. I respect Brian Thomas. I respect Amon-Ra St. Brown. I respect all these guys. But Drake London, and I'm not afraid to draft him. The nice thing is if you're setting up a portfolio, you can, draft after draft, just kind of watch your London exposures. There's a lot of great options. I mean, Amon-Ra is a great player. Nico's great. Ladd's great. A.J. Brown's great. So you don't want to be too far out over your skis. You don't want to be 40% London, but you want to be 25% London. Be comfortable with that. Just make sure you're riding the brake a little bit and dabbling on these other guys, knowing, hey, I can take Brian Thomas here because or I don't have to take him. I'm at the nice thing is I'm at the 11 pick. I don't have to take London here. I can get him on the way. I know I can get him on the way back around. It's no problem. It's not my fault. People are still drafting Puka. Let him. Do you prefer Ladd or do you prefer A.J. Brown?
That's a good one. I think Ladd I want to say Ladd in PPR and A.J. Brown in half PPR or standard. But that's a close one.
And in best ball, it's definitely Ladd because of the ease of stacking. Because it's just you're setting yourself up for pain if you go A.J. Brown and you have to. I mean, you have to try to draft Jalen Hurts probably earlier than you want to draft a quarterback for a lot of people, and then you could easily get sniped because someone could just go Hurts and Devontae Smith, or some could argue that Hurts is a guy you can just draft solo, just go naked Hurts, and that's fine too. I don't typically like that. I mean, Lamar Jackson naked is probably the one that I like the most. But even then, I still think you're obligated to try to maybe slide a Bateman in at the end, or a Likely, or an Andrews. You got to do. There's no reason to not stack in best ball. There's just no reason. Naked doesn't make sense. So I've got 10 more questions for John Paulsen. 10 more questions, burning questions at that. And we'll come back to him after this. Earlier this year, I tore my rotator cuff. I had surgery. It was a mess. They said, it's going to be a year of rehab. And I said, okay. I found an app, Fitbod, which lets me plan my workouts, keep the strength of my lower body, but work on strength and conditioning and flexibility of my shoulder. And man, I so wish I had found it earlier. It plans your workouts every day, how many reps, what time of day, even gives you indicators of where your recovery of your muscles is at throughout the week. It has been an invaluable tool. It's something I credit with my recovery. Working out had always been a mystery to me before. Now with Fitbod, that mystery has been solved. Go to fitbod.me. Fitbod.me and use code PLAYER. Use code PLAYER to get 25% off. That is fitbod.me. fitbod.me/player to get your body to where you want it to be. 10 burning questions. We talked earlier about it. We've alluded to it. Bears offense. Ready to break out. Yes or no?
Yes, and I don't know how September is going to look. I had Andy Barons on the podcast, and we did a deep dive into the quarterback position, and he's a big Bears fan. He's just like, yes, I'm excited about Ben Johnson, but we have a new system being installed with a second-year quarterback, some new pieces coming in. It might take some time. They had a good preseason game there against the Bills, but they were playing against the third or fourth stringers against the Bills. But it's a confidence builder for them. I think there might be some issues in September, and then by mid-season, it's looking better because anytime you come in and have a new offense, especially with a young quarterback that hasn't seen it all, and then been some questions about Caleb Williams' accuracy this summer, which is kind of surprising. But if those things get sorted out, you're looking at a pretty good offense, top 15, top 12, maybe second half of the season.
Do you prefer Odunze to a guy like Igbuka, guy like Diggs? You push Odunze up into that next tier?
Yeah, I think Odunze is like a 6-rounder-ish. But when you're talking about Igbuka, it really depends on Godwin. And if Godwin is not playing, then Igbuka, I would think, was going to outscore Odunze. But if you're thinking that Godwin's going to play,
is going on the IR.
He's out for yeah. But I mean, if Godwin's playing, they got Mike Evans, they got Godwin, and then Igbuka. It's just a mouths to feed situation versus Odunze, who should be the number 2 option in that offense.
You said mouths to feed situation. You didn't say there's too many mouths to feed. So in that, I think you were actually referencing the cliche and acknowledging it was a cliche. So I'm not going to cliche alert you on that. I know it's a technicality there. So yeah, I had a big debate in Canton with JJ Zacharyson about Igbuka and Odunze in Dynasty. And he's been big on Igbuka, thinks he's more valuable than Odunze in Dynasty, and then he's just running pure. Next thing you know, Jalen McMillan's out. And I'm like, man, must be nice, JJ. Things are just lining right up for you. Yeah, lining right up for you there, see? So it now makes perfect sense that you would have Igbuka over Odunze in Dynasty. And now even in redraft, it just kind of it tracks. At least we've seen Baker Mayfield have like a 22 fantasy points per game season. We haven't seen that from Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, when you do projections, it's difficult to put a player like Igbuka as the third option if Godwin is healthy. Evans and Godwin are both target earners, so there are too many mouths to feed.
Oh God!
Wide receiver 3 for the Bucks versus the wide receiver 2 for the Bears. However, if you want to draft Igbuka, it makes sense if you are gambling that the Chris Godwin situation doesn't sort itself out by September, because he's going to get if Godwin's on PUP for 4 weeks, Igbuka is going to crush it in September, and he's going to be outscoring Odunze, and he might already be established as the number 2 option in this passing attack. So I see what you're saying, but I have to do reception and yard distributions for all these players, and it's just difficult to say, okay, here's the third receiver for this team, and I'm going to have him over the number 2 receiver. Similarly talented.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I mean, I think Igbuka's a little more talented. No, I think Odunze. God damn it. I think Odunze is more talented, bigger, faster, stronger, more prolific college season. And then everything we've seen from training camp and preseason, that he and Jalen Johnson are just, two alphas that are just locking up, making each other better. I think it's a very cool situation that's unfolding, and that his quality was concealed last year because of the presence of Keenan Allen, just because he was a rookie and he didn't have that connection on the outside. It's just very difficult for Caleb Williams to make that connection on the perimeter. Rookie quarterbacks, it's going to be easier for them to connect with someone who's more of an interior route runner in year one. So you think Godwin could play week 1?
It's looking like he's not, but the last report I saw was he's likely to start on PUP. Yeah. And they are now looking at him like they don't want to rush him back. So when you start hearing that language, he's probably going to sit out September. Now, everything from February to May was he'll be ready for the start of the season. So something shifted, and it might have been the draft pick.
Yeah, or it's just that guys with major injuries, they take time to come back, and you shouldn't be drafting guys that are injured. Period. I like Khalil Shakir's situation, but I can't draft him. That's it. But there are, like I said, I think you could pick your spots. I think if you think a guy's going to be back and he's going to be healthy and he's going to be ready, and it was minor and they were just being cautious, then okay. Or all reports are this guy has just healed in a 99th percentile fashion, and it's game on, and he's Stephon Diggs and go for it. Okay. Like you can pick your spots, but I have a little bucket, a little teeny bucket, and I can drop a few coins in that bucket that are players that I'm going to draft that are injured, and then it fills up very quickly, and I'm out. I'm mostly out on these guys. And that also means who's going to benefit, finding the guys that are going to benefit. And yeah, Egbuka is it's hard to imagine him disappointing this year, because okay, he's the third receiver. All right, they don't have a tight end that's commanding a lot of targets out of the backfield. Who is the third receiver in Chicago?
It's not Burden.
Who the hell is it?
Yeah, it's not Burden yet. It is.
It's gonna be Burden.
Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah, Zaccheaus actually making plays in preseason.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be Burden. Burden, see, that helps to tilt things, because now Burden is a better player than Jalen McMillan. DJ Moore, at this point in his career, is better than Mike Evans. Suddenly, we've got... You don't think so?
He's younger.
Yeah. And Mike Evans' average target depth crashed to like number 39 in the league last year. And that was like the metric he always led the league in. So he's not getting downfield like he used to, which makes sense. Guys like him, guys like you're more scared of Mike Evans than you are Tyreek Hill, right? These are both overcooked turkeys. But
I've been avoiding both.
Do you think Mike Evans more so, or Tyreek Hill, or just avoid both?
Well, Mike Evans actually produced last year, whereas Tyreek Hill took he was injured. He had a wrist injury, but I'm worried about both. I've been kind of avoiding both players.
As you should be. These are huge bust risks, and that's why you're just drafting Kittle. That's what you should be doing. Do you think that Mike McDaniel could be the first coach fired?
I doubt it. I think he's still got too good of a rep. Somebody else will get fired.
We'll see what happens.
Can you put money on that?
You pile up some losses and have the offense look bad for a few weeks in a row, and you might be surprised, Mr. John Paulsen. You might be surprised.
I would be surprised.
Yeah, you're avoiding Devon Achane.
Yeah, he's been sliding down with this lower leg injury. A little worried about that. Still would probably pull the trigger in the third round when we get into that weird area, but I'd have to, go on Twitter and see what the latest update is and see if there's any positivity being espoused.
32 Beat Writers. Subscribe to 32 Beat Writers. They're the place to go for news. Now, okay, so basically what you're saying is, I know you're not drafting any Tua randomly. So when you're out on most of the guys that are in the offense, then this is a sign that the coach may not be on the team much longer. That's just something that I've realized here. So, okay, we've teased it long enough. Everyone knows we're going to talk about it. I think now is the time. We're on to burning question number 4 here. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and Chris Rodriguez. How do we value these guys? How do we decode this backfield and the future of Brian Robinson?
Well, it certainly looks like from what they're doing that he's not going to play for the Commanders this year. So they're going to either trade him or maybe cut him if they can't find a trade partner. There are landing spots which would be good for him, where he could produce as he would with the Commanders or even better. The Cowboys spring to mind.
Well, you said spots, and I can think of one.
There is a spot that he could produce better than he would with the Commanders, and that would be the Cowboys.
Yep.
And then
this is the Cowboys' thesis. This is their whole sort of theory of the case at running back, is that there's no reason to invest a 4th round pick in a running back because a guy that you could draft in the 4th round is just going to become available in late August anyway. And so why not just pick off the players that get recycled from these other teams? Javonte Williams comes to mind, and then Brian Robinson. And next thing you know, you've got a backfield where at most you're spending 6th round draft capital, and your running game is top 10 in the league, because what matters is the offensive line and the run blocking unit. That's really what matters, not how explosive the running back is. Sadly, this is a fact of football, where it's just funny how people perceive Brian Robinson a couple of years ago as being fast and elusive because he broke a couple screenplays. Same thing with Ramondre Stevenson. And so, the running game is just so interdependent on the offensive line and the whole offensive system that I'm with the Cowboys on this. And then sure enough, a guy like Brian Robinson is going to come available. And we'll see if they actually pull the trigger and try to get him for a 6th rounder or a 7th rounder. This would be the way out, right? Like, if you've been drafting all this Brian Robinson and you're devastated, because I've said you should be drafting some Brian Robinson just based on situation alone, where he goes. I don't like the player, but the ADP is too good on Brian Robinson. You got to be drafting him. This is a way that if you are overweight on him, you can get bailed out. And also, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Austin Eckler, they deliver. There's a way we all win here.
Yeah, the answer probably is going to end up being Chris Rodriguez, as you alluded to prior to going on the show, starting the show. But I did draft my first. I haven't been in a ton of drafts, but I drafted my first Bill in a fast draft the other day, and just a lot of hype around it. And the issue, I think, always was, how is he going to play when there's Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler there? But if Brian Robinson has moved, there's an opening. So it's either him or Rodriguez on the 1st and 2nd down, and then Eckler likely on 3rd downs.
I understand that they love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and I also heard that the Chargers liked Kamani Vidal last year.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've heard a bunch of things about a bunch of guys that the teams like. And then what happens is the season starts, and the guys that the coaches trust in pass protection get the nod, and this is where you're going to see a bunch of Chris Rodriguez this year. Chris Rodriguez needs to be drafted. Facts. Just throw a dart. It's a great offense. Is it Eckler? Is it Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? Or it's Rodriguez? But you need to be taking a shot on one of these guys. You owe it to yourself to get exposure to that offense. It's an offense you want exposure to, and it's so easy to get a guy that's potentially going to be leading the team in opportunity share. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Chris Rodriguez, sadly. Very sadly.
What do you make of Terry McLaurin there in Washington?
I think that Terry McLaurin's holding out, as he should. I think he deserves all the money. He is the true number one. He is a sports car. He is the closing out of a tier because of the holdout. Like I said, I love that stack is so attainable. That at end of the fourth, early fifth round on Fast Draft in the Rabbit game. I mean, unbelievable. That is such a cool thing to do. Whenever you can do a nice little turn stack and it is not a lot of risk involved, not a lot of snipe risk. Love that. And yeah, I know that he outperformed touchdown-wise. So the touchdown rate's unsustainable from last year, but also I think that he's going to have more yards and is going to have a better connection with Daniels. So the other metrics go up, the touchdowns come down, and he's right where he was last year, which is great. Top 10 receiver. He's going off the board at wide receiver 21. Yes, please. I'm sure you like McLaurin this year. I'm sure you do.
I like the value you're getting now with the dip. I got him in the late sixth in a superflex league.
What? Yeah, superflex. That makes sense. But I mean, who doesn't love that? Unbelievable.
I love it.
Really good. Really good. So we mentioned a little Ramadre and how he is going to be the starter. He's going to be out there. He's going to be scoring touchdowns. It's what's going to happen. The Patriots offense is an offense I want exposure to. Travion Henderson is very sexy, but there's a lot of hype. I mean, he's up pretty huge. In this Rabbit game I'm looking, he is up, top 50 player now. So he's going to pass R.J. Harvey, and he's going to be RB18 very shortly. Is that too much for a guy who's not even going to be the primary back?
Yeah, the group that you have there, I think Chuba is safer and has top 15 upside. Connor ran really well last year. So those two, I think I would still have ahead of Henderson. Where's Ramondre going?
Oh, dude. Ramondre. Pick 148. RB50. So he's down there with Chubb, but the thing is, you can't just load up on him because JCM is right there, and Jerome Ford is right there, and
Braylon
Tyler
Allen.
Algier is there, and Eckler is there. So there's plenty of guys you want there. Braylon Allen. What a great spot. This is the final round running back. And in general, this is why what you're seeing right now, this screen right here, the screen that's up right now, and above that is even Ray Davis and then Garendo and Dylan Sampson. And this is why hero running back is so often optimal. Is you get your Gibbs, you get your Jonathan Taylor, your Derrick Henry, if you're John Paulsen, and then you load up on these guys. And a couple of these guys are going to hit in a big way. There's going to be some 10 touchdown scorers in here. There's going to be some guys that are primary backs for half the year. Guys that go out and catch a bunch of passes. Jerome Ford, he was efficient last year. And there's no way at this point. The clock has run out on Judkins. They can't get him into camp and get him prepared, playbook, everything. Jerome Ford is the starter week 1. And there's no guarantee that if and when Sampson's going to be ready to be the primary back this year. A lot of these guys, the season runs out on them, and you're like, hey, what happened to this guy? What happened to Kamani Vidal? What happened to this guy? Well, he made some plays in preseason, but just wasn't quite ready. And then they're great guys to bet on the following year. But not this year, oftentimes. especially if you're not an early round pick. If you're a first rounder, if you're Marion Hampton, doesn't apply to you. But Dylan Sampson was not. Dylan Sampson was, early day 3. So tough decision. If you remember, between Jerome Ford, Braylon Allen, I mean, don't make me choose. That's the thing. And now I have to draft all these Washington running backs. Don't make me choose, Dad. Do you have a favorite of all these late round running backs?
I'm liking, as far as late round, and I'm maybe not so much fast draft because they might not even be drafted in fast draft, but like a traditional 20 round, and you're just taking some dart throws on some really late guys. Jalen Wright, Rico Dowdle are going extremely late.
Mm-hmm.
Justice Hill, I think Justice Hill's probably the RB2 behind Henry, and then Kendry Miller, I think, is the pretty clear RB2 behind Alvin Kamara. Now, it's not a good offense, but these are some guys that if there's an injury, they could be giving you RB2, RB3 type production, and that's super useful in tournaments and best ball and all that.
Ollie Gordon. Oh,
you like him more than Jalen Wright?
Adjust. I think you need to adjust. Ollie Gordon, I think that's an adjustment. Yeah. I think that Jalen Wright, if he had impressed at all last year, sure, but he didn't. So I've pivoted to Ollie Gordon. He's also Ollie Gordon, 4-year player. He's ready to go. And so far so good in preseason. So you're not hearing any negative feedback about Ollie Gordon, that he's not ready or whatever it is. So for that reason, I'm in on Gordon. But again, my instinct is always to be like, I'm so scared of Rodriguez. That's my operating assumption is it's going to be the veteran, but in some cases, man, Ollie Gordon was very well regarded prospect. So I feel like the Dolphins feel like they got a real value, and now he's running incredibly hard. And I just think it's a low bar for him to overcome Jalen Wright. But yeah, you look at this zone on Fast Draft in the Rabbit. Dowdle's drafted in 2.1% of drafts. Gordon 1.8. Brashard Smith 3.9. Justice Hill 1%. 1% of drafts. And then you get down. Then below these guys, they're not drafted at all. Kendry Miller has not been drafted yet. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I just did a search for Jalen Wright, and it's not pretty. On Twitter. So we'll have to take a look at that. The OTA and the early camp stuff was positive, and then now I'm looking at it's not good.
Oh.
I'll delete him from my list of favorite under the radar handcuffs.
Yes, you should.
I literally just deleted him.
You should. You have, yes. Okay. Okay. More fantasy points this year. Luther Burden or Josh Palmer?
Probably Josh Palmer.
Sad but true. Sad but true, everybody. Who you got, Kelsey or Ingram?
Still Kelsey. And it could be tight, but I also Ingram's like in terms of playing time for Peyton, which I don't know how much he's going to play. If he's going to be a full-time starter, full-time player, if he's going to be more of a in and out of the lineup thing, because he likes Troutman for some reason. Kelsey's going to be on the field as much as possible. So I still think he's got a little bit of gas left in the tank.
Good. Yeah, I'm with you.
But I don't want either one of them, really. I'm kind of skipping over that group.
That is so. Would you rather just wait for Njoku or wait just for all the late round tight ends we talked about? Jatavian Sanders?
I mean, I have Njoku ahead of both of them, I believe.
Okay.
I've got Njoku at 6, Kelsey at 8. But then it's just like I'm looking at Kraft because I've got Kraft at 9. So
I have max exposure for any tight ends in my mocks on Fast Draft is Njoku easily, because he's in a tier by himself, because he goes after Ingram and Kelsey, but like you said, probably gonna outscore them. And the only issue is, like, you don't get some of the extra stack upside. Like if you have Brian Thomas, and then you can draft Trevor Lawrence, and then you can just go get Brenton Strange. Who do you like better, Strange or Jatavian Sanders?
Strange, but I'm open-minded on Sanders. It's just that he's been playing behind Tommy Tremble whenever Tommy Tremble has been available last year. Now this is a different year. Has that changed?
Yes. I mean, not exclusively. There's certainly lineups and formations where Tommy Tremble's out there, but no, Jatavian Sanders is going to be on the field a lot this year. Trust me, it's going to happen. I mean, I don't.
That's what he needs.
We have it. I don't have the preseason week 1 snap share in front of me.
Tremble is on PUP, so that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Like I said, I was worried, especially if these guys are inline blockers. I'm like, well, maybe Tremble's outstep. I don't think he is, but he's on PUP. So Jatavian Sanders is, I think there's nothing standing in his way, man. He is potentially like the number 3 option in that offense. If you think it's going to be Tet McMillan and Adam Thielen, and then Coker, maybe Jatavian Sanders, maybe. I like Coker a lot. Again, if it's a little bit deeper than the rabbit, then I really like Coker, because I think that they're going to throw a lot. I think this is another one of those. I guess we talked about the Titans, we talked about the Patriots. The final backdoor stack offense that I really like is the Panthers. Do you agree? Now that you know, especially now that you know Jatavian Sanders is a great pick.
Yeah, there's a case to be made there with Sanders. I'm just looking at his game log. He had 6 games where he played 73% of the snaps. I think those are probably the 6 games that Tommy Tremble missed. 2 for 8 with a touchdown, 4 for 87 on 5 targets, 3 for 13 on 5 targets, 6 for 61 on 6 targets, 1 for 4 on 1 target, and 5 for 49 on 7 targets. So definitely
pretty good
out there, especially for rookie tight end, right? He was a rookie last year. So
yeah, dude.
Getting 5, 6, 7 targets, and then also getting a touchdown. That looks pretty appealing for a late round.
Bryce Young's trending in the right direction. Bryce Young touched the void, man. Bryce Young fell from the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
The rope caught him. He touched the void. Now he's back, and he's climbing better than ever. Like, I like him. I actually think that I'm more impressed with him because he went through that, and he came out on the other side, and he's fine. This makes me like the Panthers offense a lot.
Sometimes
I think that Matt Harmon and I are going to have words. I didn't talk to him about this in Canton. I should have. Matt Harmon and I are going to have words talking about Travis Hunter versus Tet McMillan. I don't think there's this giant gap between Hunter and Tet McMillan. So we need to get Matt Harmon in here. We're going to talk some Tet McMillan. I know it's more that he loves Hunter, but I can turn that into, I can shift you know how I do this, right?
Yeah.
You know how I
twist people's words.
You know, I can not twist his word. I can twist the situation to be like, hey, now we're debating. Hey, we agree kind of, but we're debating this. So I know you hate bold predictions. You don't do them. I think probably half of pretty much the best people, the best guests on the show hate the bold predictions. But I try to get them out of there we just do something fun. Take a chance. We won't clip it. I promise. We won't put it on social media. Just, let it fly, John. Let it go. Let it fly.
Yeah, we've already talked about him. It's going to be Cedric Tillman, wide receiver 62 off the board. I have him at wide receiver 50. You could probably make a case. I had him a little higher before that, but because I thought Kenny Pickett might be the starting quarterback. I don't know why I'm trusting Deontay Johnson. predicting Pickett would be the quarterback. No, I think I think Cedric Tillman has a top 40 season. It's pretty bold.
And I love it. From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.